All right, everybody, welcome back to another home milling version of the Baby Snuff project. Now that all of the plants have been cut down and hung, colored, and the like, they are now ready for some grinding. In this episode, I'm going to be milling or grinding or buzzing up three different cures of leaves that I have. So the first one is going to be quite familiar to you from previous episodes, and that is the leaves that were hit by the frost. So they are still very, very green, very potent. Well, I say very potent, but they smell very, very green, grassy, kind of pungent, and definitely have that green nicotine scent off of them for sure. Next is going to be just some smalls here that I dried in the pylon method, or cured in the pylon method, and yeah. And last but not least, we have some that I hung up in the shed. Now a little crispy right now, but these ones here are, I would say, the most amazing. They smell of caramel. They colored perfectly. Hanging them in the shed was definitely a big win, and I think this is going to be the means I'm going to use moving forward. So anyways, now to grinding. All right, everything has now been grinded up in the burr grinder, a little bit of mortar and pestling, but I've yet to put it through the sieve. So first off, we're going to look at the smalls that were done in the pylon. Okay, so we have here a fairly, it's hard to tell on camera, but it's fairly golden with a slight tinge of green. The aroma on it is, give me a second, almost has a slight coffee kind of scent to it, but nothing overly pungent or powerful. It's very, very, very mild, to say the least, but it does have that faint kind of tinge of coffee aroma. Next we have the Frostbitten Leaves. Obviously they're very green, fluffy, and the aroma off of it is very very herby, almost like a matcha kind of scent to it, but it does have a slight, almost citrus note to it. Very pleasant. Yeah. And then also from the Frostbitten Leaves, we have these golden ones here. Now, I'm not too sure what the process is and why they kind of, went from green to golden, but that said, a slight number of these leaves were frostbitten, left for a few days, and then they've immediately turned this beautiful gold color. Oh, that's my puppy outside. But yeah, and the scent off of that is not herby at all. It's almost got like a faint nutmeggy scent, which is fascinating to me. I'm going to keep this one here separate and do a small little micro batch of Snuff, just to kind of keep its flavor profile separate from the other Frostbitten Leaves. And then we have the bulk of it. This here is from the hands that were hung in the shed. These ones hung, I think, for about 6 weeks. As you can tell, very kind of light golden brown as well. It looks like there's a tinge of green to it maybe on camera, but that is not the case to the naked eye. And the scent from it is, it's got like a faint caramel to it, which is just amazing. I'm very much loving that. I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to change over the aging process once this gets turned into snuff. So yeah, next step is going to be sifting and then combining various ingredients. All right, everything has been sifted, not as finely as maybe I should be sifting it, but I've gotten into some of the more medium coarse to coarser snuffs in the past little while, so I'm okay with some of these little flakes of what are possibly stem, most likely small stems from the lamina, which is no issue for me. So if you wanted to make this into more of a toast, you'd probably use a much finer sieve, probably more like a tea sieve, and really work it through, probably crush it down a bit more into mortar and pestle, but I'm not overly interested in doing that. So I'm going to go forward with what I got here. And just so you know, this is everything that was taken out that was way too coarse, a lot of bits of stem in there. But I'm just going to save all this here and probably put the extra effort into mortar and pestle and getting it down to a much finer toast consistency, as well as my stems, and probably make a more, like I said, fine toast with that. So for the batch that was the hands from the shed, the first hands that were hung, I'm going to be using as my alkalizer some sodium carbonate or washing soda, and also some of this sea salt here that I gotta buzz back up again and sift. And I'm probably going to go with like 7.5% per volume for the sodium carbonate, and probably going to stick with the 5% for the salt. And we're going to see how that turns out. All right, I've calculated that I have 35.5 grams of tobacco flour, which means rounded up, I have 2 grams of salt and approximately 2.5 grams of the sodium carbonate. Next, I'm going to dilute these two in water, looking at approximately 5 grams as well per volume of water, which I will then be adding into the snuff. I've now added the sodium carbonate and the sea salt with the moisture, and I'm now just working everything in slowly but surely. I may have to add a little bit moisture as I go, but we'll see. Just want to make sure everything is good and incorporated. Since this is going to take a very long process stirring, I'll cut back and show you what it looks like after I'm done. So we are almost done here. As you can see by the texture, notice how everything kind of sponges back. You know that the moisture in there's been well incorporated. It's all clumpy and slightly darker than it was before. Now, the next step is going to be to put it in a jar, and we're going to let it age for probably 3 weeks before taking it out and sifting it again, getting some of those major clumps out, and giving it a good try. So this here is the second batch of the home milled snuff from my Rustica plants. and I look forward to trying it out. Next up, into the jar. All right, and here it is in the jar. Nice, clumpy, light to medium brown. This should darken up fairly well as it ages over the next 3 weeks. And I'll get the other snuffs done up as soon as I can. Till next time, happy snuff making, my friends.